Mr. Williams?
Well, I know the question had referenced 21st century programs, and hopefully I'm correct in understanding this, because as a board member of communities and schools and a former teacher in low-income schools, we're all too familiar with the joys of completing 21st century grant applications to be able to get funding for after-school programs at your schools. And I absolutely believe that the Department of Education should be a collaborative partner with our school districts to expand those grant opportunities to as many schools and districts as possible, but we know that that's not going to provide those opportunities to all children across the school system, and that's why I'm advocating, and it's one of the components of my platform, the creation of a council of nonprofits to be able to provide meaningful, extended learning opportunities to our children. And I emphasize the learning part of that phrase, because a program can be nice, but I really want to make sure in our schools that it's a program that extends learning for our children beyond just the school day. And I know that we have actually someone in our audience here, Melanie McClintock, who runs a great organization called the Arizona Center for After School Excellence, and we should be partnering with groups like that to help us assess what programs out there we know are providing a truly meaningful and excellent after-school opportunity for our kids, so that we can make sure we're targeting resources and support to those programs in as many schools as possible.
Dr. Price?
Well, I support after-school activities. Music, art, and all of those sorts of classes are very important to the development of the whole student, and I can speak for myself with physical activities. I played tournament tennis when I was 15, 16, and 17, and what I found was it developed so many inherent values that I carried with me through the whole year of not stopping something, not giving up, practicing, trying to be as good as you can be, and put it in after school, all summer, whenever you have to do it. These are qualities that make our country strong, and it really shows. And when you support like the Phoenix Suns and you see those men out there trying very hard and practicing and working together, and all of the people excited about what they're doing, this comes from their schooling. And of course there's some money attached to it too. But basically it's from them. And I think if we don't have sports, I think we're missing a terrible part of a student's success.
Okay, thank you. The next question, just perchance, happens to be for you, Dr. Price. You said Arizona students are 2 years behind. In what are Arizona students 2 years behind?
Reading, writing, math. Are there anything more important than that?
Okay.
We tested all of the students from the high school at Central Arizona College, and I did it for actually almost 10 years. And there was no change. Even though those students were given scholarships because they were in the 20% or 30% of their high schools. And when I went to work in the high school, I had to evaluate transcripts from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. And we started testing those, assessing those students. Those students were 2 years behind also. And I go back to a teacher that I talked to from Indiana. She was along in years, and she said, my students in kindergarten were able to read before they got out of the kindergarten. Can we say that of all of our students, not the ones I saw in the schools? That's where it starts.
Okay, thank you. Here's another active question. Would you... Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we have a chance to respond?
Yes, if you'd like to. I'm sorry. I jumped too quick.
I think, Vince Lombardi, he was a famous football coach. He said, if you're not keeping score, you're only practicing. And I think it's critically important that if we're going to have a world-class education system, if we're going to be the best in the nation, that we develop a culture at least as strong as that of baseball of knowing what the score is. And the premier system is a national assessment of educational progress. They have spent hundreds of millions of dollars, billions and now over the life of that, developing that system, pulling large samples from every state so they can compare every state with other states, and then with sophisticated regression analysis, compare schools with other state schools. And if you look at the reading scores, fourth grade reading scores, for example, in 2003, we were 3 points behind the nation, which corresponds to about a third of the year, a third of an academic year, roughly speaking. It gets pretty complicated, but so a third of an academic year. In 2009, we were 5 points behind, which is about half of an academic year. So if you want to get very sophisticated about it, that's where our students are relative to the rest of the nation. However, on the first day of kindergarten, our students were about 5 points behind the rest of the nation. So our schools, in order to have the best schools in the nation, to outpace the gains from all other 50 states, we need to improve our gains about 20% a year. That should be our objective, to have the best schools in the nation, and we should have good benchmarks, and there should be widespread knowledge about how you keep score.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other 90-second springboards? Yes, Mr. Williams.
I couldn't agree more again with John on the fact that we should know what the score is, which is why I always confused when I hear that we're doing a disservice when I mention certain statistics, to make sure that we're honest and transparent for our kids and the parents of our kids about where we really are, so that we know where we're starting in order to get to where we know we should get to. And I also look at the NAEP scores because, unlike the Ames test, which has been manipulated for multiple years now by the state legislature and the Department of Education in order to make it seem like we're doing better than we really are, the NAEP scores are something completely out of the control of our state legislature and the Department of Education, and they show a very frightening reality. Right now, we're ranked 48th in reading in the 4th grade, 45th in math in the 4th grade, 44th in reading in the 8th grade, 48th in math in the 8th grade. That's out of 50 states and the District of Columbia. So I think it's absolutely critical that we start with a point of truth and honesty about where we really are, so that we can empower everyone that's working hard each day to move our children forward, to make sure that we've got the right game plan and we're headed in the right direction on behalf of our kids.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next is another action question. It's only one. Are you a member of Arizona PTA? Raise your hand. Well, guess what? We have to do a better job on our membership. Oh, thank you.